So your home plate tonight is only one function, f of x equals x squared, and the domain starting from -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transformations only. Okay, copy that, please. So, let's get started. And I'm going to go on and elaborate on some of these with an activity that we're going to do right now. But before that, let's get started with our objective. I can transform a function using different parameters. Once again, I can transform a function using different parameters. So you remember the function, the concept we're still on. Function, that is correct. And we're still doing transformation using parameters, yes? We don't need a prior model because by now you have this already memorized, yes? All right? So, Jordan. So, yesterday we did a transformation where I introduced a fraction inside of the parentheses with x, yes? And that gave us the general rule, g of x equals f of 1 over bx. From there we went to decimals. We did an exploration with the lever and all that. Remember that? And then from there we answered the questions. And then I said we're going to add it to our general rule, which is here. You guys remember that? All right. So once again, I'm going to go over every piece of the formula one more time in case you did not write it down. Here it goes again. I'm going to go a little quick, but just everybody go like this. Bear with me. Here we go. So we are giving the general formula g of x equals a times f of 1 over bx minus h plus k. We have 4 different transformations here. We have a, b, h, and k. The first one is A. A stretches or compresses. But which way? Vertical. So what does that mean, Mr. Q? Well, in the home plate, we usually start with f of x equals x squared. And what does that look like once you graph it? It looks like a parabola. If that's true, and they give us in the rule that we need a number multiplying in front of the f of x, then what's going to happen to this? It's going to stretch it vertically. When does it stretch vertically? When we multiply times a whole number, such as 2. So if I was to write 2f of x, then guess what? It's going to stretch all of that. However, what if we multiply, here again in front of that, times a fraction such as 1/2? It's going to compress it down to make it an itty-bitty parabola. There it is. Are we there? Yes. The other thing that some of you keep missing, look up to the screen. If A is a negative, it just inverts the entire function. That's all it does. Are we there so far? Because in the home plate you had one of these that it had a negative fraction, and some of you forgot to invert it. I don't know why. So, next, the letter B. It also stretches and compresses. However, it does it which way? Horizontal. What does that mean? Well, if I take this and I just stretch it horizontally, it's going to look something like that. It's stretching horizontally. When does it do that? When we, instead of b, we substitute a whole number such as what? The number 2. If I substitute the number 2 here, it will be what? 1/2 x. However, instead of substituting 2, if I substitute 0.5, a decimal or a fraction, what does it do to it? Instead of stretching it, what does it do? It compresses it to a itty-bitty parabola. But still like that. Any questions up to there? All right. Next, we have the letter H. What does H do? It moves it to the right or to the left. When does it move it to the right? When we substitute a positive number. So I'm thinking of 7. Positive 7. If I substitute it in here, what is it going to look like? It's going to look like this. X minus 7. You're saying, Mr. Q, you said you substituted a positive 7. I did. But what's part of the formula? The negative. The negative stays there. So if I substitute the positive 7, think about that. What number did I substitute? Positive 7. That means, check this out, that my parabola is going to move to positive 7. And where did we start? When we usually graph this, when we start at what? At 0. Next, when does it move to the left? Well, when we substitute a negative number. What does it look like if I substitute negative 7? Well, if I substitute negative 7 here, what's part of the formula? Negative. So what is negative times a negative? So we end up with x plus 7. However, what number did I substitute? Negative 7. What does that mean? That on the number line, it's going to go to where? To negative 7, and we graph our parabola at that point. Or it moves it from 0 to that side. Some of you are getting confused with Mr. Q. I thought you said that for this one we went. No, we're talking about substitution in here. Some of you are like saying, yeah, but if I just look at this and I get confused, well, think about the opposite of this. What is the opposite of this? Positive, so you go to the right. What is the opposite of this? Negative, so you go to the left. And last but not least, K. When does it go up? When we substitute a positive number. When does it go down? When we substitute a negative number. And those are all the components. Now, some of you are like, yeah, Mr. Q, but I get confused when you give us the actual, kind of like the home plate. Okay, I'm going to go over that. Here it goes. Yes. Yeah. All right, here we go. Writing utensils down, look up to the screen. At this point, I need your attention. I don't want you to write anything down. You don't need to write this down. I'm going to do an activity myself that helped me. Hopefully, it would help you. Here we go. So it says, the graph of f of x equals x squared is shown. Well, yeah, Mr. Q, but you already have the graph. Okay, well, if I didn't have the graph, what would I have to do if I'm given this? An input-output table. That is the first thing you should always do. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Substitute these in here. What is negative 2 squared? 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. This should be automatic, guys, by now. Right? Wake up in the morning. The domain on this ordinance. You know what I'm saying? Because we've been doing this already for 2 weeks. And that's exactly what you need to do for each problem. Some of you keep skipping, and that's why you get straight lines. First thing is this. Second thing is the graph. There it is. I'm going to plot my points. There's my graph. All right, so pay attention. Here it goes. Now I have a general rule, which is a formula. But I'm going to do only one transformation. When A is what? Negative 1. So what does that mean, Mr. Q? Well, that they don't give me a value for K. They don't give me a value for H. They don't give me a value for B, but I can't put 0 because then I would eliminate all this. So that this has to be a giant 1. So what does that leave us? It leaves us with, check this out, G of X equals, what is A? Negative 1, F parentheses X. This is the rule. So if this is the rule, this is saying, take f of x. What's f of x? All of this. And do what? Negative 1 times f of x. So what does it mean to have a negative 1 in front of it? That we do the inverse. Once again, if it's a what? A negative in front of the f of x. What does it do to the function? It inverts it. So I'll get to that one. So here goes another function. Let's say the function, instead of being that, it was the absolute value one. If you have a negative 1 in front of it, what does it do? Inverts it. What if it had a cubic function? Instead of doing that, what would it look like? Inverted. Yes? Okay. It looked like a dance, right? Yeah. I used to break dance, by the way. All right. So, Chaz asks, what if it was what if it was not a -1, but it was another number? So pay attention to this part. Here it goes. Pay attention. We are not given K. We are not given H. We're not given B, so we assume it's a 1, yes? So what is the only one that we replace? A. So my rule that they want me to use is G of X equals 2 F of X. So, in the notes that we just did right now, according to what I had, that means I only have a number here. That means it's either stretching or compressing. But since I'm multiplying times the whole number, what does it do to the original? It stretches. So it looks something like this. Right now I'm not worried about points. I just want you to understand what it looks like. Is everybody following so far? What if I had, instead of A2, I had A equals 1/6? It will shrink and it'll look something like itty bitty like that. Either it stretches or compresses. All right, next. Focus, please. Here goes the next one. There it is. Look at it. Think about the rule. If I was to ask you to write down the rule, tell your neighbor the rule that we're going to do for the transformation. Yes, it's G of X equals 1/2 F of X. Some of you are still like, Mr. Q, where's H and K? They don't give us H and K. They're just asking us to do this transformation. Okay? So, what would that look like? Once again, it does what? Does it stretch? No, it compresses. All right, let's go to the next one. Here it goes. Do they give us A? So we assume it's an invisible one. Do they give us B? Yes, now they give us B. Do they give us H? K. So my rule would look like G of X equals F of 1/2 X. Are we there so far? What does this one do? We said it's a stretch or a compress, right? And we said if it was a whole number, it would stretch it. But since, oh yeah, it is a whole number. There it is. So it's going to stretch like this. Because we're stretching it which way? Horizontally, not vertically. What does it look like if B was 0.5? That means I substitute in here 0.5. It's going to look like that, but shorter. Like so. Zabi, all right? Okay. Next one. Do they give us A? So it's a 1. Do they give us B? So this is a 1. Do they give us H? Yes. K? No. So my rule would be G of X equals F of X minus 5. Why minus? Because it's in here in the formula. However, I substituted which value? Positive 5. That means this is going to move to what spot? Positive 5. Yes? Because right now they're just asking you to transform it for H. If I was to say, okay, make me the transformation for A equals 2, B equals 3, H equals 5, and K equals -2, then you have to do a lot of stuff. But right now I'm just showing you one piece so you know how it's going to look like when they ask you to do that. Yeah. No, you'll get one right now. Don't worry about it. Look at this next one. Focus. This one, H is being substituted in here. Do they give us A? No. B? No. K? No. So therefore it's G of X equals F of X plus 7. Why plus? Because what is in here? Negative. And what is this one? Negative. And what is negative times a negative? Positive. So therefore, but what did we substitute? Negative 7. So we go to negative 7 over here. And we just graph the whole thing on this side. Next. Look at this one. Do they give us any other value? No. So therefore my rule would be G of X equals F of X. What else? Minus 7. What does that mean? Take the entire F of X, which is this, and move it down how many steps? 7 steps. Next one. Same thing, but what would be our rule now? G of X equals F of X plus 3, which means it's going to move this up 3 steps, the whole thing. Oh, well. Oh yeah? Boom. Let's go. Alright? Show me how come you are with graphing given a rule. Yeah, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. Okay? You're next. I did that myself. Now it's your turn. Lock your toolbar. I want 2 things. Don't do it on paper. I want it on the screen. You only have 40 seconds. I want you to show me the graph and write me the rule. Ready? Go. All right, we're good? Yeah. All right, let me advance your screen. Lock your toolbar. You have 40 seconds. Show me the graph and the rule for that one. Ready? Go. Check your work. Hands, have you got that? Yeah. What number did we substitute in there? Positive 8. That means we're going to move to positive 8 of X. Next. Lock your toolbar. Write your rule. Graph your transformation. Ready, go. 40 seconds. All right, here we go. Correct answer on your screen. There it is. Bam, let's go. Hands, have you got that? That is correct. Here goes the challenge one. Oh, yes. Lock your toolbar. Oh, sorry. Lock your toolbar. No. Yes. No, it's just going to be 1. I only want to see 1 graph on the whole thing already transformed. But write me the rule. Now it has 4 different steps that you need to do. Copy that and go. I'll give you extra time. How about 41 seconds? Send it. Let me go over this one. Here we go. First of all, they give us the value of A, so we write G of X equals -1 F of 1 over 6X plus 5 plus 6. Hands, if you got that. Okay. Now let's see what it does. I'm going to start from this side. -1. What is it going to do to the... Flip it. Okay. 1/6. It's going to do what? Stretch it horizontally. So imagine it flipped. So now it's stretched and it looks something like this. Everybody see it? From there, what number did I substitute for H? So I'm going to move it to -5. And then K is +6, so it's going to go up here, and it should look something like this. Okay? All right. Now, some of you probably got the first or the second, or maybe you forgot to flip it and you got the other two. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. If you made it, but it's kind of white. If you did it about right there, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Last but not least, here we go. Copy this one on your graph paper, please. Example Shazam Q. And it says, the graph of f of x equals x squared is shown. You're like, Mr. Q, I don't have it on my graph. Then what shall you do? Input, output table. Bam! X, f of x. We got -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay? Next, what is the rule for f of x? We square each x. So what is -2 squared? 4, -1 squared. 1, 0, 1, 4. We plot those points and it should look like this. Do that right now and then I'll continue with the rest. Next, they give us the rule. You're like, that doesn't, I mean, it doesn't look like anything we did today, Mr. Q. Okay, well, let's make it look like it did today. Look up really quick before you finish. Look up. Do you agree that 1/2 times 5 is the same as 5 over 2? Yeah. Why? Because it's 5 over 1. Is that correct? Yeah. Or, if I was to say, change this to two fractions, we would do what? There's an invisible one right there. So this is 1/2 times 5 over 1 or times 5. Do you agree with that? Yeah. All right. With that same idea, is this. What's the invisible number here? Do you guys see now the -1/2 here? So let's change this. -1/2. And what do we have left? F of x minus 3 plus 5. And all that equal to g of x. Yes. Yes. Because it says here negative. Yeah.
So you only put the 2 over the 1? Like you have to do the whole 2 quarters? Yeah. What?
Yeah, we already said that if this was the number 5 and we have 1/2 and we multiply. This one? Right here? Yeah, you just do it to the 1 and 2. All right, now that we have this, before we graph it, what do we know? That it's going what? Up. Then it's going to the right. And then this is going to compress it and then invert it. Okay. However, isn't this last piece the easiest piece? So what do we have to worry about? This. So check this out. That's when you do this. You add one column here. And now you just focus on this. What is the rule? -1/2 times what? F of x. That is correct. Let me zoom in. So, what does this mean? 1/2 times f of x. What is f of x? All these numbers. So what is -1/2 times 4? -2. What is -1/2 times 1? -1/2. What is -1/2 times 0? 0. -1/2 times 1? -1/2. And -1/2 times 4 is -2. All right? I'm going to plot this. So to plot it, I don't use this one and this one. I use the x value and the new f of x. So we got -2, -2. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom out. -2, -2. -1 and -1/2. 0, 0, 1, -1/2, and 2, -2. So we did the upside down, and did it compress? Hold on before you leave. Did it compress? Yes. What are the last steps? Move it to the right, and then 5 up, so it should end up somewhere up here. Show me the fingers how comfortable you are with this style. Okay, good. So hopefully it's only one problem with the 5 transformations. Make sure you leave your iPad in the cart, please. Good one, guys. There is tutoring. It's free. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.